number of questions that have come in from our Netizens, and I think also maybe some from Nanchiao. And I think one of the questions that has been asked, I think it's asking on your personal experience serving in the army in the past, and what is it like compared to what it's like now today, and from what you know or from what you've read, and also your experiences serving, how different is life in the army back then and what it is like here today? Yeah.
Well, life in the army 40 years ago is very different from life in the army today. And the main reason is that we were building up the armed forces. So we were learning by the hard way without the benefit of actually, evolving our given capabilities. So for example, one idea was we need to have mobile artillery. But how do I mobile artillery? We carry, can you imagine, mortar bombs on our back. So the 120 millimeter mortar was carried on the back of the artilleryman. Poor artillerymen, they have to, in fact, I think many of them got injured because of the heavy load. Over time, we find that, the artillery now become automatic artillery. So all you need to do is for a soldier press the buttons and the various things move. So we have moved from actually a very physical and manual way of fighting to a more, I'll say that, high-tech way of fighting. But the concern is that we still need a fighting spirit, because at the end of the day, it is the will to win that made a difference. So therefore, we need our young people to have that in mind. You cannot win a war by hiding in a bunkers and just using your smartphone. You have to be out in the open, and therefore you need to be able to live in nature and enjoy being part of nature. So therefore, I push very hard for Singaporeans to be loving of adventure and loving of nature. The two are together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. So you talk about this idea of the will to win, right? And the will to really just to put in your best and to serve the nation and be there for the country. So a second question that our students have asked is, they can sense and they can hear your passion to serve Singapore. And looking at the list of things that you've done over the years, what fuels your passion to serve Singapore?
I thought it's a very simple thing, that there's only one Singapore. We own Singapore, and Singapore owns us. So therefore, everything we do that can add value to the country, let's do it. So I think that has been driving me all along, and I've not stopped. Just because I retired from Ministry of Defense 14 years ago, doesn't mean that I'm still not engaged. I'm still engaged because I'm thinking, say, how can we do things better? And so I have still many friends who listen to me and say, yeah, maybe your ideas can take off. So I'm very delighted that I've got many friends, from young friends to more senior ones, who can have conversation with me about how to make Singapore a better place for all of us.
So on that note, we actually have some students who have sent in a few questions about females who are joining national service. I think they agree with you, and they feel that we should all do our part in our country's defense, and it's important for us to love our country, to serve our country. And so they want to ask you, what are your views on females joining NS or even alternative versions of it in the future?
I'm a very strong advocate for females for national service. And the reason is that national service is the only common experience we have for all citizens of Singapore, right now for the males. their first time they go through the same experience together. And for nation building, that's critical. And I think national service need not be, national service just very uniform in military. We have got national service in the police, we've got national service in the civil defense. And perhaps we will also have national service in the health system in the future. So, but to be able to spend time together, have a common experience, and serving the nation, and not just serving myself or just, I think that's critical. So I'm a great supporter, advocate for women doing national service.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I think we also have quite a number of questions. One is, how important do you think it is for younger generations of Singaporeans to be informed of our nation's methods of defense? I guess through your talks, for instance, another question would be, what do you think Singapore would be like if we didn't have these pillars of defense and talks to educate the public? So I think the first one was about how important is it? Yeah. And then the second one is, what happens if we don't have these?
Okay. After spending, 40 years building up defenses, I've got privy to see actually how much hard work have gone into the building up, not just by the military side, actually by the nation. We occupy 20% of Singapore's land. I'm not sure how many people realize that. 20% of Singapore's land is used by the military for training, for bases, and so on. So actually, the country put a lot of resources into keeping the military capability. And you ask, what if, have we not done this? What will happen? Right now, what is on the news all the time? Ukraine and Russia. Can you imagine? Have we not have this capability? We have the ability to stand up. Should there be actually, political issues? So for us, it's very critical that we have a credible defense that is respected. Everybody know that there is no military option to deal with Singapore. You're not happy with Singapore, you can deal with Singapore, in a diplomatic way or various way, or economics and so on. But there's no military option because the military capability is such that we will be able to take on threats that can be thrown against us. So I thought these are very important questions, and I'm not sure, they have been clear enough. They're very happy to come to school and spend time talking more detail, but I feel very strongly that we as a nation have invested so much of our resources into defense is because it's a necessity. If you do not want war, be prepared. So be prepared part is very critical. Thank you. I think that's a great question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Whitizens, and our friends from Nan Chiau as well for your great questions. We still have a lot more questions for you, Prof. So we're going to share a few more questions, and maybe
yes,
Mr.
please,
Ng, if you would like to add on as well, please feel free. So we were talking about the idea of being prepared, right?
Yes.
And it's important for us to be prepared in whatever situation and scenario that pops up. So a question, I think this is from Nan Chiau High School. They've asked, do you think integrated defense should include other types of security, such as food security, for example?
Oh, yes. But when I talk about integrated warfare, I didn't talk about integrated defense. I'm looking at a whole list of threats, of which that include actually, food security. So we've got water security, we've got energy security, we've got food security, and what other things. So as a nation, we ought to be looking at all the different problems that we can face and take actions, be prepared so that, we won't face it when it happens and there's no time to react. So for example, food security was a subject very close to the heart of defense. I'm quite sure many of you will not know. Where is the first hydroponic farm in Singapore? Guess where? You don't know. Because the first hydroponic farm was built by MINDEF in 1974 in Kranji MO Dam. They say, why would MINDEF build a hydroponic farm in the Kranji MO Dam? It's because we have got a Minister of Defense, Dr. Goh Keng Swee, who can see all the land being occupied by defense and ask, can we also grow food? So hydroponic was actually high-tech. So we built the first high-tech farm, in a Kranji MO Dam. So when the farm was finished, we went to show it to him. He looked around and he said, okay. Then he saw that the vegetable that is being grown is being grown under the cover of PVC sheets, or PVC cover. Then say, why we need to have a PVC cover? The answer said, we prevent insects and so on. Then ask, how long does that last? PVC under strong sunlight, maybe 5 years. Then we could need to change the cover again. Then the cost will be high. Maybe we must think of other solutions. So I give this an example of how actually we ought to be thinking at the different uses of the resources that we have to overcome certain limitations that we have. One of which is food. And so far, we have not been working so hard until the last few years when you say, you must have 30% of Singapore's food will be grown in Singapore. So surely we can go 80%, why not? If we can house people in high-rise flats, why can't we house vegetables growing in high-rise structures? So it can be done. So question is that, is it economical? So therefore, that go back to business case. Will it be cheaper to buy vegetable from Johor than to grow a vegetable in Singapore? It was the case. But if vegetable cannot come from Johor, then you better have your own vegetables. So there will be circumstances where you have this need and you must think and say, should we be prepared for that? So the word be prepared, let's look at the different contingencies and ask, what should we do to ensure ourselves that we have the resources to overcome these contingencies?